Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Pitch Us. Super excited to have Reed with us here with Tactic. My name is Tim Cooley. I am the author of the Pitch Deck book. I love helping people with their pitch decks. It can be complicated, but we try to make it simple. Reed, we are so excited to have you here. So please share your screen and then pitch us.
Absolutely. Yeah. And thank you, Tim, for having me. Am I good to just jump right into it?
Yep, go ahead.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for listening in. As you can see on my screen, I'm representing Tactic. I'm one of the founders and the CEO there. At a super high level, what we do, Tactic is the future of hybrid work. It's a game-changing platform that optimizes workplace experience and employee schedules for organizations worldwide. And I'm going to get a little bit more into what that means here in a couple of slides. But before I do that, I want to talk about just hybrid work in general and kind of leading up to this. So 2023 has been a huge year for hybrid work. There are two pie charts here, and I want to focus on the one on the right first. And what that really depicts is the long-term plan for even companies that were fully remote at the end of last year is to have some sort of office presence. In fact, just earlier this week, the poster child for hybrid work, for remote work, Zoom announced plans that all employees within 50 miles need to be back in the office at least 2 days a week. And so the vast majority of companies are adopting hybrid long-term, even if they've been remote historically for the last couple of years. The pie chart on the left, what that's depicting is that, look, even companies that have been hybrid since reopening their offices post-pandemic, they're still making changes and tinkering with what hybrid looks like for them. Now, what does this mean? It really means that for the past year and a half, hybrid work it's been a period of trial and error and trying to figure out what works for each organization. And really, what this boils down to is that organizations are struggling to find the right balance between flexibility, productivity, and stability. In this world, we know employees demand flexibility, executives crave structure. And what that's led to is that it's led to really the obvious solution, which is hybrid work. But even super huge and public and companies that people would die to work for, like Google and Apple, have had pushback to when they've released certain type of work plans in a hybrid setting. And that's really where we come in, Tactic. It's an all-in-one platform that streamlines workplace strategy while also handling the logistical challenges of a hybrid workplace. Now, I have a couple of steps. You can see the four kind of boxes. And rather than read those four steps, what I'd like to do is actually just show some images of the web app itself to kind of provide some color as to, what that looks like in reality and a real live use case of using Tactics. So first things first is any company really, when adopting hybrid, they have a specific strategy that they're targeting. And within Tactic, they can actually go in and create the underlying policies that support that strategy. What you're looking at here is the two most common policies that get created within Tactic. The first being a remote policy. So kind of some examples of what that would look like. We can see a company saying, hey, we want our employees to work, or we want our employees to be able to have 3 remote days a week. They could do that very easily within Tactic. We've also seen people treat remote work like PTO, where they say, we're going to give everybody a bank of 100 remote days for the year. They can use these days whenever they'd like, but every day beyond that, we want them to be in office. The flip side is office days policy, as you can see on the right-hand side. And that's really what it sounds like. It's anchor days, really. So, hey, we want our team to be in on Monday, or we want the sales team to be in Monday, Wednesday, Friday, whatever that looks like for the company. And it can be created based off of team at the organization level down to specific users. Once that's done, companies can then go in, upload their floor plan directly within Tactic, and configure their space so it matches what strategies they're really targeting. So they can section off different sections of the office so that certain teams sit in certain areas together. They can create temporary assignments. So, if you have a new hire group and you're onboarding them and they're going to be in the office for, a month being trained, they can section off, temporarily different areas of the office for that. But really just configure the space so that it works for them and works for their strategy that they're trying to implement at their company. And once that's done, employees are then able to log into the platform and they're able to really just get transparency. They're able to see exactly what's expected of them, when they're required to be in office, what days are flexible. More importantly, they're able to see what their colleagues' work schedules look like, especially on those flex days. What we know, from 2 years worth of data is that the number one driver for other people wanting to go to the office on flex days is who else is going to be there. So they're able to see, what other employees' work schedules look like and make informed decisions of, when to work from home versus from the office on those days that they have the choice. And then they're also able to, manage any upcoming office reservations as well. All this data gets collected so that over time, companies can really do two things with it, is what we've seen. The first is that, on their balance sheet, they have these long-term leases, and they really don't necessarily know how much space they need in a hybrid setting. So they're able to gather information so that when these long-term leases come due, they're able to confidently make a data-backed decision about how much space they actually need. If they need to downsize, by how much can they afford to do so? And then the second piece is that they're able to get insights into how they can optimize the actual space for a hybrid setting. So what that looks like is really, what type of conference rooms, what type of desks are most popular among our employees. So, should we invest in more standing desks because those are always booked, etc. Now, with that said, one of the challenges with hybrid work is that there is no one size fits all. Every company is unique in their culture, where they're located, how large they are, what industry they're in, etc. And so that makes it very, very hard because it's so nuanced on a company by company basis. And so we've been able to get to where we are because we partner with some really, really great companies that have been very actively involved in what our roadmap and what our platform looks like today. And I want to show you a couple of examples of how we've helped, two different companies really execute what they were looking for that are very different from one another. The first is Grammarly. You may have heard of Grammarly. They have a couple of offices here globally, and they reopened their office, their headquarters first. They're located in San Francisco, and they thought that there would be this massive influx of people, excited to be back in the office. That's just not what happened. And so they engaged with us. They had very low office usage at that time. And after 90 days of using the platform, they saw an over 300% increase in office attendance organically. That's not without any policies, any requirements, mandates, etc. That was just organic. And what we found was the reason that happened was transparency. San Francisco is not a very easy place to commute to and from work. And people just didn't have the confidence that, hey, like my team is going to be on this day, it's worth me going in. And so by virtue of just making it very transparent of who's working from where, people had the confidence to make that commute. And then the flip side, another example is a different San Francisco company, Nitro. They're also headquartered there. And totally different use case. During the pandemic, during the shutdown, they had grown pretty dramatically in headcount. And so they had way more employees than they had initially when they first shut down, so much so that they were concerned they didn't have enough space in San Francisco to support all their employees. And so as they were looking to reopen their space, they engaged with us because, we had the ability to kind of manage capacity, help people know when they can work from where. And what they found was actually really interesting. They also didn't have any mandates, no requirements to be in office. It was really up to the employees at this time. And they found that employees, for them, didn't really want to go back into the office all that much, so much so that as their lease came due, they were able to downsize their space, save $60,000 a monthly rent. But then in their international locations, recognized a need to expand those offices or reopen a new office in Belgium in that instance. And so two totally different use cases, both of which were serviced by Tactic. Market opportunity, because of time, I won't jump too deep into here, but suffice it to say, if you just look at the total number of occupied office buildings in the United States, our average revenue per location, it's valued at just under $5 billion annually. And this truly is a global solution. We have customers with offices in about 15 different countries worldwide. So this is not something that just is a need here in the United States, but is also very popular. Hybrid work is very popular outside the United States as well. Looking at the competitive landscape, the core difference between Tactic and alternative solutions on the market is in our unique approach in building the platform. A lot of the solutions that companies could choose from existed well before the pandemic. They were exclusively conference room booking software or visitor management software. And they really catered to back office administrators and don't really focus on the end user experience. When we first started Tactic, we believed that employee adoption was critical to winning the market. And so that's what we focused on. Our platform is not just a tool for management. It's something that end users, i.e. employees, actually can use and get value from other than just giving the company's data. And so the way that we've done this is we've created a lot of robust integrations with all the tools that employees are already comfortable using. So Slack and Teams, their calendars, their video conferencing tools, etc., so that we're able to funnel the value that employees would get from Tactic straight into the applications that they're already using, so they don't have to proactively go in and log into Tactic every single day just to get that information. It's able to get surfaced to them in the places that they're already spending time. And that is a huge reason why our employee adoption is best in class in our space, because we're able to do that and do it in a way that's intuitive for end users. Traction to date, we have just under 1.5 million in pipeline, just under 90 customers total, paid customers total. And like I mentioned, we're in just over 15 different countries worldwide, especially focused here in the United States, Canada, the UK, and Australia. We just crossed recently the 400K marker for ARR, and we're really proud of the companies that we work with. I put some of the more recognizable logos here on the bottom, but truly all of the companies that we're working for are very forward thinking in terms of how they think about hybrid work. And we're able to involve them very actively in our roadmap, really pinpointing exactly what are the things that companies are going to be needing to solve in the future. No, I mentioned 2023. This is a couple slides ago, but I mentioned 2023 has been a huge year for hybrid work. And we are really starting to see that in our go-to-market. So historically, when we first started Tactic, our go-to-market motion has been almost exclusively outbound. That was up until about February of this year, where we completely did a 180 and are almost now exclusively inbound. There's a whole lot of reasons I don't have time to get into just in this quick 10 minutes, but suffice it to say, we have a very specific owner of the problem that we're selling to that's been created as a result of not the same level of office adoption that had existed prior to the pandemic as companies opened. It's called the workplace or workplace experience department within companies that has just recently gotten created. And so we've been able to very specifically target them in advertising. And what we've seen is that for every, since February, for every dollar that we invest in top of funnel advertising, we're generating just over $3 in new ARR. Inbound demos in Q4 of 2022, we had a total of 24. In Q1 of 2023, we had 77, and we've doubled that last quarter in Q2 of 2023 to 154. We think we'll probably hit about 200 this next quarter. Likewise, our product has made, our platform itself has made some pretty dramatic improvements as we've collaborated with our customers, and our close rate this past quarter jumped from 22% in Q1 to 35% in Q2. So we're sitting right now, so far into Q3, about a 43% close rate, which we think we can get it up to 45, possibly 50. But we're seeing a very good fit in terms of the demos that we're generating and the fit within the use cases that they're having to date. So very, very excited about that traction there and that flip. In terms of the founding team, it's myself, Chris, and Austin. We each have a pretty diverse backgrounds in terms of what we kind of specialize in. My background is finance and accounting. Austin's is technology, and Chris's sales. And so our collective expertise allows us to kind of cover the different facets of the business that's allowed us to get to the point that we're at today. And we're currently raising $1.5 million on a 12 million post money save, 20% discount, and have half committed right now. And so if this is something, if our vision kind of resonates with you and it's something that you'd be interested in learning more about, I'd be thrilled to connect. Happy to chat with you. And yeah, just grateful for the time. Thank you for listening.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Reed. This is really, really fascinating to listen to, and your story is awesome.
Thank you.
Let's start off again, just pitching the deck itself. First of all, your traction's incredible. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
How long have you guys been? I have a couple questions, but how long have you guys been doing this?
So we first had the idea for Tactic in April of 2020. We launched, we were all had day jobs at that time, but we launched the MVP version, like very basic glorified spreadsheet type of version in March of 2021. And then we closed our first, our seed round in the fall of 2021.
And how much did you raise there?
We did a $3 million seed round led by Peterson Ventures.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Are you guys all based in Utah?
2 in Utah, and then 1 in Arizona in terms of the founder locations.
Awesome. Well, congratulations there. That's great.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Is this a bridge round then, or is it like, what's the...
Yes, this is a bridge round. So it's really twofold. It's one, I mentioned some of the go-to-market metrics that we've kind of uncovered since February. Yeah. That's really, again, there's a whole lot that goes into that, but really what it is that the market has matured pretty dramatically from what it was. And so it's one to double down on that, just because we now kind of know exactly where our ideal customer is, where they spend their time, how to target them. We know where we win, etc. What use cases we specifically cater to, and then secondly, to get us to about $2.5 million in ARR is what that 1.5 will do for us.
Okay, cool. So some ideas here for you guys. Okay, so just go through my thing. One, you're a great presenter. And I think that
thank you.
this was a long presentation, but it didn't feel long. Like you were hitting good points. I think I can help you speed it up a little bit.
Beautiful.
Cut out some things that I don't think you needed as much, but add a few things that I think will add a little bit of more volume and clarity early on.
And are you okay? I'm gonna be listening. I'm just gonna be taking notes on my phone if that's okay.
Yeah, no, totally.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you to click around a little bit, so you might you can watch the video afterwards too, so not a big deal. Okay. Go back to the beginning. Let's start at the beginning.
All right.
Okay, so first of all, I would remove the picture here. It looks like it's an incomplete slide. I thought you were sharing the screen when you first did this. So bring out the logo. You can get rid of yourself as well, like that picture. Again, this is just,
I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not anything to write home about, so I'm all good. No, you're good with that.
Just bring out, that's like that landing page, right? Just logo, whatever. Okay, and your slides are really pretty, so it's not like that's the issue. This is a lot of clutter at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Okay, like next, let's go to the next slide.
All right.
Okay. I recommend, you've already raised capital before, so what I would do is, I think, root your guys itself in the business itself. I think you should put in a summary slide here. There's an example in my book, but basically say, hey, look, we raised 3 million. We're on a bridge round. Here's the ownership equity structure. And we're doing hybrid, whatever, the high level thing here. Tactics where you could pull this thing back in and then get rid of this picture right here. You can get rid of the what we do as well. You were at Deloitte, maybe you were in accounting, but consulting, put the sentence at the top. Just again, you're rooting me in where we're going with the deck. And since you've already raised capital, let's start there. And now, because what I'm looking for now, I'm like, okay, cool. These guys have built something. You've raised some, people believe in you. Now we're going to get into traction. Like I'm waiting for those traction elements and you guys have those. So you're kind of setting me up for the next.
Nice. Yeah, that makes total sense. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So now let's start going into the problem statements. I think that this is going to be, you did a good job of explaining it, but I don't think you set me up to get there.
Okay.
So the first problem statement, truthfully, like you can preface this by saying offices want people to come back to the office, but they don't really know what to do. And if you go back to one slide, go back one. I'm not sure which one of these is the right number to pull in here, like 70 of room. Okay, I would pull this, the 73%, the one on the right.
Okay.
I would build this slide from here. Because this is like 73% of remote organizations say they want to bring everybody back. Like everybody wants to bring people back. But the problems that you're running into, right? And now you're going to get into the problems. You've already showed that there's like this issue of people wanting to do this thing. And here's the problems with doing that. And the first one is policies, right?
Yep.
They don't know how to structure the policy that works for flexibility, productivity, and stability, like in recruiting their employees. That's the first problem, right? Yep. The second problem has to do with the why people come back. And you talked about that, like there's kind of no reason to come back. Like you're only going to come back if your friend's going to be there or your boss is going to be there or whatever. So the company is struggling. They don't know what to do. Another problem is like, it's a peer pressure type element there. And you're going to, that's one of the other issues.
Yep.
And then you also don't know what's available, right? If you decided to come back, as an employee, you don't know who's going to be there and you don't know what's going to be available, right?
100%. You don't know what the experience you're going to get if you go to the office.
Exactly. Right. And then the other one, which you didn't touch on, and I think that needs to be brought out here, is utilization. So I think you need to break this down into two areas. There's the company's problems, which is policy, usage of the space, those are their issues. And then you have the employees' problems, which are these other ones. And I think you could break those down really cleanly.
Right? Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So all you would need is they're 73%, and then you can go right into those. The company has these problems, policy, utilization needs. They're spending a ton of money, and like they're on 3-year contracts or 6-year contracts.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Like they have a desire to bring people back, otherwise there's wasting. And then now you have the employee problem, and the employees have this problem 1, problem 2. Okay.
I love that. Yeah, that's fantastic.
All right. Now we're going to go into the solution to that. So here's what we did to solve the company's problem. Now move forward. Okay. So you can see you don't even need that slide anymore.
Yep.
You don't need this slide anymore. In a way, you're going to get right into it here. Okay. So now if you want to do this slide, you can. It's kind of hard to read. There's just a lot happening, and that text is really small. So what I would recommend is you can put your tactic as an all-in-one solution, and then you could put go company, here's the 3 things we solve for them, and then employees, here's the 3 things we solve for them. Let me show you is the next kind of thing. Let me show you how we solve this for both of these group types. Now you go to the next slide.
And then just jump right, kind of like the mini screenshots.
So now let's go to your policy one, because I think it demonstrates it really, really well. Okay. So what I want you to do is add some flavor here, right? Like I can see these screenshots, but go back to instead of product overview, you're going to say super easy policy creation, right? And then you can say you can walk us through the slide, but I would add a little bit more, not words, but step 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally
So it's like a 4-step process, and they've got their policy created. And the other thing that I would mention here is you went through here and you talked about separating it by job category and separating it by location. Those are those things I would pull out on the left here. You can create this for a team. You can create this for those number of days, like that bank that you talked about. I would pull all that on the left actually, and leave these 2 pictures.
Okay, I love it. Yep.
Yeah, those are those functional elements. Are oh, that's neat, but it doesn't tell me anything here.
Yeah, and it's when I share the deck, which obviously happens all the time. You don't have that context. So
right. Yeah. So policy creation made easy. Here's some of the categories, and then this is an example of what that could look like.
Beautiful.
All right. So there's that one. Go back to the one above.
So this one, I probably can cut this. This is the screen that you have that, because you can create different policies. So you'll see, you can't really see it, but there's an orange policy button right here where you would click on it to get to this, to get to these essentially.
I see. Okay. Yeah. I would cut that screen.
Okay.
So I would say utilization is another slide you need to add. Right. I think that's one of those areas you solve. So show me how the tool does that. Let's just stick with those, because I wrote those ones down. And now we're going to go into the employee side, right? So what you could do here is you could do company, utilization, company, policy creation, right? And now you're going to flip it, and you're going to go employee, and you're going to be what's available? Who's going to be there, right? And you can put all those things here on the left as well. So you're going to call out those functions.
Yeah, that's honestly, this is gold. So I'm very impressed that you were able to do this so quickly in a 10-minute pitch. Just boom, it just came to you.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I actually really love what you're doing, and it totally makes sense. Okay, so let me think it here. Is there a check-in ability? Go to your next one. Your next slide.
Right here. Yep.
It should be. Oh wait, where's the map? Which one had the map on it?
It's 2 before this one, so it's right.
Oh yeah. Is there a check-in? Like, how do I know what person's using it?
Yeah, so they're like check into like a desk or something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's where some of the magic happens. But we have like 5 different ways you can check in, from
Okay.
automatically using Wi-Fi to an NFC tag where you just tap your phone on the desk, to like a Slack pinging you and say, "Would you like to check into your reservation right now?" and hitting yes.
Okay. So those are those things I would add that as well. Super
Okay.
simple check-in, 5 ways to check in. Like I would add that functionally because I was like, well, how do I know that they're there? That's just a question
Uh,
that's going to come up.
yep.
So now,
It's
okay,
actually
so
one of our biggest selling points.
yeah, because I was like, that's dope actually. Well, because
Yeah.
I had a similar experience recently, and I was like, oh man, if I knew so and so was going to be in the office, like I just wanted screen time with them, and so
Yep.
I would definitely have gone into the office, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
there's some
that's
really cool things. I don't know, like you can like I don't know if it's worth highlighting, but like you can technically like follow different people that are important to you, like your boss or your friends, and then when they book or make a change to their working schedule, it pings you on Slack or Teams and says like, "Hey, so and so is planning to go in the office on Friday. Would you like to join them?" To kind of like prompt engagement and collaboration. I don't know if
yes.
that's worth like
I,
including
I
here,
think
but
it is. Go to the next slide, right? So you have this is the check-in part, right? Like, right, and this is the
yep,
scheduling part. I would pull out some of those like really unique feature sets. It's like you can schedule when you want to be there. Like you can get notified when your boss is going to, like, those are
yeah,
those little functions. And again, on the top, it's not going to say product overview. It's going to say,
yeah,
employee scheduling or whatever the word you're going
yeah.
to use is. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Because do you think it would be like on this slide? Just curious. Like, if I like had this image, if I like essentially like highlighted certain parts and then like dragged an arrow and like highlight like clarified what it did on the side or whatever, is that kind of like would that work, or do you think just moving the image to the side and just kind of listing them on the right would be better?
So I would, for example, and let's take this slide just for example. I would get rid of everything above or below from below tactic, the logo and up, I would delete. And then I would get rid of the blue, right? Because I don't need all that
Yeah.
stuff. And I kind of don't really need the weekly reservations unless you're going to say you can book desks, you can book this, you
Mm,
can set a schedule. And then I would leave this slide by itself.
okay.
Then you could say like notifications, right? Or whatever. So a lot of people want to cut down slides and because they're like, oh, I can't go above 12 slides or 8 or whatever the number
Yeah.
is. I would say if you can explain the solution in about 2 to 2.5 minutes, use as many slides as it takes so that it's not cluttered,
Got it.
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because could you imagine if you had like 6 screenshots? Like that would be a nightmare,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. So I would cut out the excess here that's not required. Like I don't need to receive a reserve desk button, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Totally.
so show what you need and then highlight what I'm looking at, and then
Okay.
show me the next slide and then highlight what I'm looking at or tell me a little bit about that.
Perfect.
All right. So so we're in solution, right? Let's go to the next slide. This is a utilization slide, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, so this would go back into the company. So we're gonna
Yep.
moving forward, we'll keep all company together, all employee stuff together.
Yep.
Okay, so now go to the next slide. Okay, I love that you did this, except for in my head, natural progression of communication is like, so what do you do? How much does it cost? It's just a
Okay.
natural thing. And this is just a Tim Cooley thing. I think try it. It'll probably solve some other stuff. So if you're in number, and I don't actually know how much this thing costs.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I've had it in before. I've had it out. I pulled it for like a fast 10-minute pitch. I should
Okay.
have left it in.
Yeah, yeah. How much is it?
I mean, it's on a per resource basis, $3 a month per desk, $10 a month per conference room. There's a slight discount if paid up front for a yearly contract.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I would say pull that out because I need that number now to do the next two parts. I need that I want to see that financial projection slide,
Okay. Yep.
You have those finances in here. And then I also need it for the market size. I need that root number.
Okay.
So that's why you need it.
Perfect.
And so,
Yep. No, totally makes
what
sense.
I say to people is, if you're talking about numbers, stay in numbers, right?
Yeah, makes
Because
total
my
sense. I
brain's
mean,
like,
I studied accounting, so I should have.
it's all good. It's all good. Okay. So now let's say hypothetically you're going to go business model. Then I want to see that, like, here's our traction over the last 2 years, and here's where we're going to go. And then here's the market size. That's your 5 billion number. And I love that you talked about the US, because we obviously know that you can go outside the US, but I think you did a really good job of explaining those slides. So I have no feedback there. Okay. So here's a really interesting thing. I actually loved your explanation of those 2 use cases. I would figure out a way. I wouldn't change them much, actually. I think that was a good way. But let's keep them all into traction.
Okay.
So let's go through. Oh, man. I think you could do a better job with your competitive advantage slide. I would actually list those competition. I love this thing down here, all these like awards you guys have gotten.
Yeah.
So I would actually pull this middle section here. Designed for both organizations. Yeah, I think that's an important thing, but I play around with this. Try it out. You don't have to do it, but like, I don't know the space that well, right? Like, I know there was team back in the day from a scheduling point of view. And I
Sean
think
Ritchie.
and I think that if you put them in categories, like there's schedulers, and then there's like these like Zoom virtual desks that mimic, or like, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Pull out the competition like in a real way. It's really what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely.
Okay. One of your slides just had a typo.
Did it?
Yeah. It was your sales ecosystem slide.
Right here. Oh,
yeah. See, for every.
Wow, thank you. You know what?
Yeah. It's not a big issue, but I was like, it just popped out.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so now let's talk about traction. So this is a hugely important slide for what you guys are doing. I always like seeing logos. I like seeing that numbers of traction, because again, now you've raised 3 million. You should know these numbers. I'm not a huge fan of the sales pipeline word, because you could have put $30 billion there. Like, it doesn't really mean anything. But I do like countries. I like the customer count. You could even just stick with those. And then what I would recommend to do on your financial projections is put some KPI metrics there. And so that would be like number of companies, 1, 6, 35, 900. And then you could either throw in something like number of offices or whatever, just something that I understand where you're going.
Yeah.
Totally. So either number of offices or number of companies or something. Just give me some KPIs. And that's kind of what this is getting to.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So let's move on to traction. I love your logo slide that you did. It was like slide number 4. I would pull that out. I would pull this slide out for sure. What I didn't see in here is what's next. So what are you guys planning to use the money for? So the big milestones that you're planning to do.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I've had that on different iterations, but I think you're spot on. I do think it needs to be included.
Yep.
Let me just. All right.
Okay, so go to team now.
Oh, whoops.
Okay, so I like this. I like how clean this is. Do you guys have a board? Do you guys have a full board?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so in this case, because you guys have raised the money, I would throw on the advisors here. So shrink your guys' things, move them up. You don't need to speak to them, but I would put, because you guys do have a pretty well-rounded team, other than I don't see a marketer on your team, right? And so, and I'm assuming.
Would you recommend including? We have a director of marketing. Would you recommend including our director of marketing on this, even though like I just did? These are just the founders, but if we're pulling in our board members. And of our advisors, if we
because it just shows you have a complete team. Marketing, sales, operations, finance, right? Like in technology. You got that whole thing set. And then, I would pull in your advisors here. Again, they don't add a ton of value. I wouldn't talk to them unless like, one of those people is well known by the group that you're presenting to, right?
Totally.
That's kind of how I would do that. And I would only speak to that advisor if they've also put money into the company.
Yeah, and I recognize also we all look kind of young, so it helps also just
gray hairs definitely help. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so team. So we need that milestone. So we did traction, milestone. The team's looking good. Let's go to the next slide. I think that's your ask.
Yeah.
Okay. So here I would redo this whole slide.
Okay.
Throw your logo on here. Remind me what the whole company does. This is kind of full summary slide. Your ask is good, 1.5. Remind us that you've already raised 3 million on this slide.
Okay.
Put the milestones that you plan to hit. Then put the use of funds. So like 40% is going to marketing, 30% is going to sales, or whatever the numbers are going to be. And then put your contact information on here as well. Like this is kind of a busy slide, but there's plenty of room to put it all in there.
Yeah, I've seen some mock-ups of other, just other slides, and I've seen it done well.
There's a template on the PitchUs website too, if you need one.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
And then this is where you end. I mean, that's the feedback that I have for you.
That's just honestly, I just have to say, Tim, I'm like super impressed. Like how quickly, like that was like I mean, that's a talent for sure. I guess when you've written a book on it, you're able to do that because that was super. That's like I'm just like honestly so impressed at how much you were able to just take in and retain for feedback so immediately. So thank you.
Well, it's interesting because I like the solution and you got to those points. It's like you just didn't prep me for them. So it's like you said them, I just put them down.
well, this is exactly what I was looking for. So super grateful. I'm excited. I'm actually excited to go back in and make these changes because this is something that I feel like is constantly iterating. I think I have something and then anyway. So this is super helpful to clarity. So thank you.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so what we do here is the final question before we wrap up is based off of what you presented today, would I move this company into due diligence? And I would. I think there's something you have. I think there's something unique here. Obviously, I would like to see the technology, go into a real due diligence. But I think this is interesting. And the fact that you've got Peterson and some bigger people behind you is really impressive. And the fact that you guys have legit revenue. You're clearly on your way with big logos. So very impressive.
Hey, that's great to hear.
Yeah. So congratulations on all that.
Thank you.
So here's what I'd love to do. And for people that are out there, I love doing this stuff. Please apply. Like, come do this. It's free. Like, this doesn't cost anything. I love doing it. And check out the book. It goes through that format that we just talked about so that you don't miss things. And most entrepreneurs just miss presenting on something. And an investor will ask you about the things that are missing, but it's better to have it there than not. And so again, Reed, thanks for presenting.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this was awesome. And we'll see you all next time.